What up, y'all? It's Taxable. Thank you for listening in. And today we're going to go over how to do a V-Lookup formula in Microsoft Excel. What I have up in front of us today is some sample data. What you see here is a total payments tab, and on it has contractor name, payments made to each contractor, and contractor number. The next tab we have here is contractor list example. It just basically has a list of all of our contractors, contractor names, social security numbers. And for the point of this video, we want to bring over the total payments made to each one of our contractors. Now, the total payments are listed on the total payments tab. So before we get started, the first thing you have to do in a VLOOKUP is you have to identify a reference key, or what Microsoft Excel likes to call a VLOOKUP value. So what does that mean? A VLOOKUP value or a reference key, what I like to call it, is a unique value or a unique reference key between both data sets on both files or both tabs, right? And so what does that mean? In this case, we have a contractor number, which is unique to each single one of our contractors. That's similar to an employee number or driver's license number, a serial number. So when we think about unique characters, these are the type of things we need to consider. All right. So looking at our contractor list, we have our contractor number, we have our contractor name, we have social security numbers. We can't use our contractor name as a reference key in our VLOOKUP formula because we have multiple contractors with the same name. So that's not going to work. So we can either use a social security number or contractor number. Well, looking at both tabs here, we have contractor number on both tabs. So that means that is going to be our unique reference key today for this VLOOKUP formula. All right. So tip number 2 is once you identify what your unique reference key column is going to be, the next thing is you want to make sure that your columns on both files or both tabs, they're in the same format. And on purpose, I made sure these two, columns weren't in the same format for this video to show you guys an example. So right here on my total payments tab, my contractor numbers are listed in the text format. You notice they start with zeros. If you hover down, I'm getting this warning box here. If you hover down, it's just giving me a count of 8. It's telling me how many, cells I have hovered. Whereas on my contractor list example, if I hover down a few of my contractor numbers, Excel is recognizing these as numbers. It's summing up the value of individual cells, right? And it's also giving me the count. So because of this, even though to me and you as human beings, we know that these numbers are the same, Excel can't identify them as the same thing. So what we need to do here is we need to make sure that they're in the same format so Excel can recognize the numbers on both files as similar numbers, or excuse me, as the same number. So what we're going to do in this instance is we're going to start on our file, that total payments file. Since the numbers on this file are in text format, we're going to convert these text formatted numbers into number format. There's one of two ways you can do it. You can either highlight all the numbers, you can click on this warning box and click on convert to number. That's one way of doing it. That will change them all to numbers. Or you can highlight the entire column. You can click on text to columns and just hit next, next, and finished. And that will convert all your text to numbers. So now if I hover down on a few, you'll see I'm now getting a sum along with my count, which matches the contractor list example. All right. So now we found our reference key data. It's in the same format. Step number 3 is to make sure that the reference key data columns are the very first columns on both files. And I'll explain that in a second. So as you can see on this tab, I'm fine. My contractor number is in column A, so there's nothing we need to do here. However, if I click on this tab, my contractor number is in column C. That's a problem. And the reason why is this is the file that I'm going to be doing my VLOOKUP against. And the way the VLOOKUP formula works is when it's looking up a reference, it's only able to look up a reference to the columns to the right of your reference key. So it's only able, if I do a VLOOKUP in this format, I'm only going to be able to bring over data in any of these columns. And as you can see, I have no data here. So therefore, my VLOOKUP won't give me the the solution that I'm looking for. So what we need to do here is we need to move the contractor number column from column C to column A. So I'm just going to do a right click cut, and I'm going to right click on column A, hit insert cut cells. So now we have our contractor number in column A and our payments is in column C. All right. Now we're ready to begin our VLOOKUP. All right, so I'm going to put my cursor in cell D2 and we're going to begin our VLOOKUP formula. So I'm going to click on this insert function button. I think this is a lot easier to show you guys how to do a VLOOKUP. You could also type it in manually, but this is, I think, is a little easier for first timers. So once you have the insert function box open, you want to click and find under your category, lookup and reference. Once you find that, you want to scroll down. I believe these are in alphabetical order. You want to find VLOOKUP. Once you find VLOOKUP, click OK. Now you have your function arguments box open. This is going to guide you through your formula. So the first category here is lookup value. This is what we talked about earlier in tip number 1. We've identified that our contractor number is going to be our lookup value in the VLOOKUP formula. So you want to click on the very first contractor number that correlates with the cell you have highlighted. In my case, it's D2, so I'm going to click on cell A2. Next, I'm going to click on the table array line. It's actually from my table array. Table array is the other file, the chart, the table that you're referencing your VLOOKUP value against, right? And so in this case, we're going to click on our total payments tab, and I'm going to highlight the entire chart. All right. Now I want you to notice something. As I'm highlighting the chart, if you look where my cursor is in the bottom right here, it's counting the rows and it's counting the columns. That's what 3C is. You want to keep track of the column count, and I'll explain why. In this case, column 3 is the last column, right? Column A would be number 1, column B would be number 2, and column C is number 3. The next question here, or the next topic on the function argument, is what column of information are you bringing over? I want to bring over my payments column, which in this case is in column 3 under my chart. Next, it's asking for range lookup. Here I'm going to put in false because I want an exact match. All right. I want to find I want to find contractor number 215 on this other file, and I want you to bring in the total payments made when you find this match. That's what I'm telling Excel to do here. So after that, you click OK. And now I have 2422 that popped up under contractor number 215. Now, if I click on my total payments file, if I find contractor 215 was paid $2,422. So our VLOOKUP formula worked. So that's good. Now we want to copy it down. So before we copy our formula down, typically when you have a formula, if you just hover over the bottom right and you see this sign here, you can just double click and drag it down. That's not going to work in this case, and I'll explain why. The reason why is we have to make our table or our chart or our file that we reference a permanent address. So because I just highlighted the chart, as I'm dragging it down, my chart's going to move. So I don't want to do that. So if I'm going to copy my formula down, I have to highlight the individual coordinates in my chart. In this case, it's A1, right? So I'm going to hover in between the A1. All you got to do here is click on F4, and you'll see that now changed to a permanent address. I hit enter. I'm going to do the same thing in between cell C15. So I'm going to click on F4 again. Done. Now, my chart is hard-coded, meaning I selected this chart. As I'm dragging my formula down, this chart won't move as my formula is dragging down. It's going to stay fixed. So now if I double-click, this last one, there we go. We're done. And let's see if our totals match. So I will click on the sum button. Yep, this is our 7773, and that matches. So now obviously we just change the format to dollar signs. Drag this over. We're done.